Vancouver Hockey Show, Andrew Wadden and Producer Aaron here with you as we unpack games 1 and 2.
Round 2, fight.
Canucks and Oilers. I love Street Fighter. Hadouken! It was a bit of a street fight for the Canucks and the Oilers, especially in game 1. The Canucks had to fight tooth and claw to get back in that one, a game that maybe they deserved. I don't want to say a better fate because the fate worked out for them, but they were the better team in game 1. But then in game 2, it sort of flipped the script a little bit, and the Oilers end up being the dominant force in that one. We're going to talk to Gemma Karstens-Smith, our friend from the Canadian Press. She's covering the series. She'll be off to Edmonton for games 3 and 4 as well. But
I bet she's going to enjoy that flight a lot more than out to Nashville, man. Woo.
Yeah. I'm not a good traveler, Aaron. You know, back in the day, I used to travel a little bit for work, and I hated it. I just, planes bothered me. People, oh, it's cool. You get to be in a different city, do this and that. I like when I get to the city. It's the travel. When is this teleportation thing going to come through? Like I
actually had this conversation the other day with somebody, but I've traveled a lot for work too, but I'm going to sound completely posh here at this point. The problem is when a luxury becomes a norm and it's like, man, need that premium economy upgrade or just need that thing. Like once you get a taste of free water, you know, you can't go back.
They give you free water? I haven't been up there, man. I don't get those luxuries. You think we got it in the budget to get a PJ? Maybe wrap it with the Vancouver hockey logo or something?
Maybe
like
at least a hot towel. I mean,
we could be like Rick Ross with our wrapped planes. But the Canucks end up taking game 2, 4-3, or excuse me, the Oilers end up taking game 2, 4-3 in overtime. Canucks taking game 1 with the winner from Connor Garland. As mentioned, we're going to talk to Gemma Karstens-Smith. Now, we're going to talk to Gemma about the goaltending, because I definitely want to hear what she has to say about Šilovs, because we did on our Instagram, we did a poll on our stories. And thank you to everybody who has been following Vancouver hockey. We're really picking up a lot of steam here through these playoffs. So if you haven't followed us on Instagram, please check us out, Vancouver Hockey, also TikTok, YouTube as well. But we put a poll up there and 94% of the people, and it was a good number of people, voted that they wanted Šilovs for game 2. Now, I wonder if that changes now going into game 3. But me personally, I didn't think he did. I don't think he should lose the net. I think he's been fine in this series so far. He was a little shaky in game 1, but game 2, I thought he was really good. And there were stretches there in the third where he really held them in. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know Casey Smith had some success in Edmonton as well, but you know, I think they just keep riding the kid.
Yeah. I mean, he's doing a great job. So has that been the biggest surprise of the series for you, is Šilovs?
No, I don't think so, because I had faith in him going in. So I didn't, could be a storyline because of the fact that he was, so wet behind the ears, especially when it came to playoff hockey. But so was Casey DeSmith, though, right? Like Casey DeSmith had one playoff game under his belt, and he had to leave that game. He didn't even end up finishing it. It was spicy beef and broccoli, Louis Domingue, who had to take over, if you remember, with the Pittsburgh Penguins there. So, in terms of, experience, Šilovs didn't have it, but neither did DeSmith as well. And, as mentioned, I just don't think he's done enough to lose the net just yet. I want to give a shout out, though, as I mentioned, the social media as well, as we've had some people tagging us. And please do that. If you're in the rink, if you're outside of the rink, just tag at Vancouver Hockey. We'll put you up on our stories. I want to give a shout out to @HuntersBuddy. No name here, just @HuntersBuddy, who tagged us, because they were outside of the arena, probably went to the game and just showed some images of the people partying out in the plaza and whatnot. So yeah, if you guys got any of that stuff, just tag Vancouver Hockey. We'll put you up as well. But the atmosphere at Rogers Arena looks electric right now, and we'll see what they get in Edmonton.
Hey, I loved them just taunting Skinner throughout the games. Like,
yeah. I'm surprised that they haven't used the Simpsons drop.
Maybe it's in a TV timeout and we haven't seen it. So that's why we need people to tag us in socials and let us know what's going on in the TV timeouts.
There you go. Well, maybe we can ask Gemma Karstens-Smith. Let's talk to her. All right, as promised, Gemma Karstens-Smith joining us now. And before you head off to the Chuck out to Edmonton, I heard it's really nice there right now. So you've got that going for you, Gemma. The Canucks, though, after blowing game 2, 4-3 in overtime. I say blowing, Gemma, because they blew the lead 3 different times. But this game was the Oilers game kind of to lose, right? They were all over them. It was kind of funny. The Oilers blow game one, and then the Canucks essentially did the same thing in game two. So where are we at right now with where this series is? And let's maybe just unpack game two, because that's the freshest right now.
Totally. I would say that the Canucks didn't lose game two. McDavid and Draisaitl won game two.
True.
And I know that seems okay, that's not a distinction, Gemma, but it is, because McDavid and Draisaitl just took over. And you honestly saw that with the Oilers' third goal of the night. McDavid just called game. He was like, I'm done with this. I'm done with not being in the lead. We're going to take this all the way to Edmonton, and it's going to be a tie series. And that's exactly how it ended. And those players have the ability to do that. You've seen them do it before, and they will probably do it again. And if the Canucks are lucky, they'll be able to weather it a little better next time. 4
points each for McDavid and Draisaitl. They loaded up that top line. They played a little coy with Draisaitl, of course. He was experiencing some cramping, was it, in game one? All those cramps that seemed to go away in game two. But you talked about the McDavid goal there, which was the breakaway. Karstens-Smith, go and look at that one again. Yikes. I know that Ian Cole is taking a lot of heat in the market right now. We will get to Ian Cole, but that was a questionable play by Karstens-Smith. And if you dig into the analytics right now, you might realize that Ian Cole shouldn't be the only whipping boy on D right now, because Karstens-Smith is not really pulling his weight as much or as well in this series. And then, of course, on that missed hit there, you can't give McDavid breakaways, Gemma. You can't do that. Do you think, though, that, and now that we're on McDavid here, do you think that officiating is a problem in this series? And of course, the big miss is the McDavid high stick. That cut Hughes, and then he had to leave the ice. Now, there was a bit of karma on that play, because Zadorov goes down and ends up getting a pretty greasy goal. But do you think that there is a problem with officiating, and do you think it's tilted one way?
Honestly, I don't. And that might be a controversial opinion in this market, but I think that you're seeing non-calls both ways. The refs put their whistles away in the third period. They were not calling anything. And yeah, there was a total non-call on the Hughes high stick on Hughes. There was, I thought that the hit where Nurse sent Pettersson into the board should have been a call. He goes head first into the boards there.
I don't know about that one. I
really?
Look back at it. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the angle you look at it from. To me, that one wasn't as egregious as the high stick is so evident, right? I mean, yeah, he's cut.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah. I didn't have a problem with the PD one, but I can see your point. And again, you've got to look at it from different angles because of where exactly he hit him. But that's a 50-50 play, I think, for sure.
All that said, I think that you're seeing it on the other side too. I think that the Oilers fans would pick out a few plays where they want to see a call too. So it's playoffs, right? Tocchet said at the end of the night that the officials have a hard job. I think that's just him trying to keep his favor with the officials. He's trying not to ruffle any feathers, and yeah, I think if he said what was on his mind, he would have had other words to use.
Yeah.
But he could also get fined by the league. So yeah, I think that every game of the playoffs, there's going to be teams on both sides that want to see other things called. And it's playoff hockey, baby.
Yeah. And the good thing about Tocchet, the way he handles those officiating questions, is he walks that line pretty well, right? He kind of gets his point across, especially facial expressions can tell a lot sometimes, especially with talk. But I agree with you. I see the gripe that some Canuck fans will have, and it's obviously Canuck fans listening to this podcast, so they might be biased in that regard. But listen, I think it goes both ways. Let's see, though. Only 2 games have unfolded so far, so let's see where the rest of the series goes. What do you think about Artūrs Šilovs right now? I thought he was good last night. I thought he was really good. There was a moment, that one save, I believe it was in the first period on McDavid, was unbelievable. And then Hyman followed it up, and he had to lunge to his side. Now, Hyman missed the net on that, but Šilovs was there if the puck was on net.
Yeah.
Unless you put it top cheese. But in that moment, it wasn't going to be able to by Hyman. But and also third period, I thought Šilovs was good too. But there's some that are suggesting, okay, maybe it's time to hand the net over to Casey Smith for game 3. Personally, I don't agree with that. I think you ride the kid right now, because I don't think he's done enough to lose the net. What do you think?
His performance was not a problem last night.
Yeah.
Honestly, like you said, he I think McDavid had 5 shots on net and he scored in one of them. Like you're stoning the best player in the world 4 out of 5 times. I think you're going to take that every night. That said, I thought in game 1, he looked a little bit shaky at times. So I think game 1 was the first time we saw him rattled. I think that the Oilers are a test that he hasn't come up against before. And the Oilers are the Oilers. And the playoff Oilers, like I said, are a completely other beast. So I think if we see those nerves from him again and see him get rattled, it was the moment where he slammed a stick on the ice in game 1. I think it was after the 3rd or 4th goal. If we see a moment like that again, then yeah, it's probably dismiss time. But like you said, I don't think it's him that's the problem. I think that if he's playing the way he did last night, yeah, go with it. The one reason you might want to swap out is to get him a little bit of rest and a little bit of work with with Ian Clark.
Sure.
But that said, they did have the 5 days of rest already. So I don't think it's imminent that you need to give him a break. I think that he's done a great job so far. And if he continues to play like that, then there's no problem.
And he's got blackout curtains now.
Yeah,
he's got blackout curtains.
That's right.
I love that Rick Tocchet was in full dad mode. Was that yesterday, day before? Getting blackout curtains from one guy, like giving other guys pep talks. Like he's full dad mode to this team right now.
Who installs those curtains, by the way, guys, or blinds, whatever it is? He's probably living in a hotel of some sort right now, right?
I very much doubt that anyone was driving down to IKEA in Coquitlam to buy him blackout curtains and then getting on a step stool to get those things installed. I think there was a call or two made.
Let's just keep Jim Rutherford off the ladders. That is, you don't want him. Yes. He's an old man, right? Don't want anyone to get hurt here. What about the matchup game, though, that we're seeing right now play out? Because obviously the Oilers shifted things and really loaded up. And when the Oilers load up, it's different than any other team because they have 2 of the greatest players in the world. But you'd think that would present some matchup sort of problems for the Oilers. But as we saw last night, like, not really. They were able to ride those big boys to a victory.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's what's impressive, right? Like the McDavid Draisaitl line was just so dominant. And Chris Knobloch was saying after the game that they initially put Draisaitl on the wing to protect him because he is obviously dealing with this mysterious injury. But his cramping and equipment issues.
Exactly.
Whatever we're calling it today. But then once they catch fire like that, you can't move him back to center, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's the look that they bring out for game 3. I think that'll depend a lot on how Draisaitl's cramps are doing. But like you said, like there's 3 other lines, and I didn't think that the Canucks did a great job exploiting any weaknesses down the lineup for the Oilers. I don't think that was, I think that was less on the Oilers and says less about what they were able to do than what the Canucks weren't able to do, really.
So do you think that they'll break up the Draisaitl McDavid line? Because me personally, I think that it was working so well for them. Plus, they're going to get the advantage at home with the matchup game. When you look at the way the Canucks are sort of lining up to them, sure, the Lindholm line could maybe take advantage of RNH's line, but Petey's line really isn't doing a heck of a lot. Like we've talked about Höglander, we've talked about Mikheyev. I mean, at this point, I want to shoot Mikheyev to the moon. Because it's just, what is he doing out there outside of putting pucks right into goalies' chests, right?
He's never going to score again.
Never.
No,
exactly.
He isn't snake bitten. He is snake eaten. The python just gobbled him whole.
Speak digested right now.
I don't know.
Yes,
yeah. But he's like I said, he's a poor guy. Every time he gets the puck, you hear the rink kind of get that, and then you're like, because it's Mikheyev.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's just not going to happen for him. But that's it. I think if you're Knobloch, why would you split up something that's working so well?
Yeah.
Until it's not, right? The nice thing for the Oilers is that they have options. Like if your option is to play McDavid and Draisaitl together or apart, like those are 2 darn good options to have.
Sure.
So I think like I said, I think what we'll see Sunday depends a lot on how Draisaitl's feeling, but they got nothing but that their blender is made of pure gold.
Well, the Canucks, when they load up, we've seen success with the Lotto line. However, they tried it last night. It was maybe a couple shifts. They played 3:19 together. You look at the analytics, they're awful. They're the worst of any of the lines that the Canucks put together. So them loading up really isn't an option right now. You hear Rick Tocchet post-game saying we need some guys to pick it up a little bit. I mean, we know exactly who he's talking about there, and we just unpacked Mikheyev. Hoaglander's MIA in this series as well. Lafferty. What does PDG do around here? That's what I'd like to know when it comes to the Vancouver Canucks. Why can't Vasily Podkolzin? Like, do you think we'll see some change here? Because I have been trying to get Pods into the lineup, I think, since the first series, and I don't understand why they don't want to give him a shot. So do you think that they'll see some lineup changes once they get to Edmonton?
I think it's very possible that we see some lineup changes ahead of Game 3. Like you said, it's the opposite of what's going on with the McDavid Draisaitl line, right? Like, that's working, so why do you split it up? What's happening with the Canucks is it's not working, so it's time to split it up. That said, they do have the options, which is a nice problem to have. And I think that Pettersson's game has come along in the last little while here. Obviously, he was on the power play last night when he scored, but I thought that he was good in Game 1. I thought that was the best game we'd seen him play for a long time. Someone was saying maybe since the All-Star break, but I thought what was most effective about his game in Game 1 was his whole 200-foot game, not just the shots, but the shot was back, and we also were seeing him laying hits, and we saw him back checking, and all those important things that make a well-rounded player.
Now, Gemma, we have some comments on our alternative highlights. So speaking of swapping out lines and players and stuff, how do you feel about the comment from the audience of swapping out Cole for Juleson?
Ooh, spicy. Cole obviously did not look great last night. We talked about how Susie didn't look great. And yeah, Cole didn't look great last night. And it wasn't just the overtime goal. There was some bad pinches. There was just some like questionable decision making. It's probably time for him to have a bird's eye view of a game before, and just get a little bit of a reset, right? Like, sometimes that can make all the difference for guys. And I know that we saw that with Cole down the stretch. He did get a few, I believe they were called maintenance days, where he didn't dress for games. And I don't think he was terribly happy with it, but he came back refreshed and reinvigorated. So maybe that's what we need for Game 3 here.
What do you think, though, with Juleson in the lineup? He's obviously going to bring energy, but bit of a fine line with that energy when it comes to Juleson as well, because you obviously don't want to put the high-powered Oilers power play too many chances, right? They're winning the special teams battle right now, but it's thin, right? I believe it's a 2-1 score in terms of the Oilers to the Canucks. Juleson comes in there. He's going to have to be careful, though, right? Because big part of his game is that energy, but it can be a fine line at times as well.
Juleson is not a panacea for this team. He's not going to cure everything that ails the Canucks. I think he creates other different issues, obviously. And so, you might solve some of the things that you're troubled by with Cole, but it's just another. Do you want this load of rotten apples, or do you want these rotten oranges over here? You just take your choice. I'm not saying that either of them are rotten.
Wow,
they're both very, very talented hockey players.
Fired.
But
I pick up what you're putting down there, Gemma. I get it. I'm sure the audience does as well. But you're right. I mean, but again, too, like I said, like, I know Ian Cole's taking a lot of heat, and rightfully so, as he should. I mean, even on that game-winning goal, like, what the hell are you doing? Like, go back and look at it. I see he's trying to direct it into the corner, but let the goal. I'm an ex-goalie, Gemma, so I'm going to ride with the goalie union. Just let Šilovs steer that one into the corner, right? And I know it's bang, and it's a tough play. Also, too, though, and this is something that the Canucks are really going to have to work on, and easier said than done. But you just look at the speed that the Oilers brought that whole play into the zone with McDavid bringing it, and then everybody sags from the Canucks. And then at that point, mistakes happen, right? So stopping Connor McDavid's speed is the key, Gemma. Good luck with that, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. If you can figure it out, then there are going to be 30 other teams in the league who really want to chat with you. All
right, before we let you go here, we talked about Šilovs and perhaps maybe we'll see DeSmith. I don't think so. But on the other side, though, Skinner, like, what do you think of him right now? Because, like, there's long stretches where he just doesn't get shots on goal, and that can be tough. That can be an advantage for the Canucks as well, though.
I think that's a huge problem for him. Is it seems to me, and I don't cover the Oilers, so I don't watch them in the same way that I watch the Canucks, but based on the last couple games, it seems to me that he's a goalie who performs better when he's seeing consistent shots. And when you kind of, I don't want to say surprise him because he's obviously in the game and paying attention the whole time, but when you get him off the rush, it's not pretty. And some of those goals last night were greasy, and that's what the Canucks need to do. But yeah, he got roundly skinnered last night by that crowd.
That's a door off goal. Yeah. I love that, by the way. I absolutely, I love, I mean, you've been in the barn the last couple of games. The atmosphere is just incredible at Rogers Arena. Just even from watching it on television, just looks amazing. But yeah, that Zadorov goal, like, and I saw the TNT analysis afterwards, and, you know, Henrik Lundqvist was talking about the fact that the reverse VH is just killing goalies right now. And he called it a pandemic amongst goaltenders. I tend to agree with him. Just in that situation, don't get me wrong, like, we could have a much bigger discussion. We could bring Kevin Woodley in with all that stuff. But just looking at it as someone who, you know, once played the position, I'm sitting there looking at it going like, why are you going down there when, you know, Zadorov's clearly just flinging it at the net, looking for a rebound or, you know, to go short side and pick it like he did. But like, why are you not just leading against it? I'm not here to defend Stuart Skinner, but that was an awful goal. And listen, if those are going to be the sort of holes that open up that the Canucks can sort of, you know, find, that could be an advantage for them. And this could be an advantage for them in the series because, you know, Skinner hasn't been great. He just literally has not been great, but here they are 1-1 going to Edmonton. And so are you. So get on a plane.
But before you go, Gemma, I have to say, congratulations. The audience does listen. The defense chants are gone. I haven't seen a wave on the broadcast. There you go. But unfortunately, car flags are still here. So, you know.
Yeah. I think
still
you're going to lose that.
Controlled by that inanimate object. Yeah. I'll let you guys know how the car flag situation is in Edmonton, though.
You better go and rip them all down while you're in Edmonton. Everyone that you go by, just rip it off.
I am surprised how long people in Vancouver have been hanging on to these car flags because I'm seeing a lot of old color schemes.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
totally.
That was part of my whole rant about it is that they just get thrown in the garbage. But apparently Vancouverites are a bunch of hoarders. So who knew?
The ones that are all faded and whatnot.
Yeah, they're pretty gross. Pretty gross.
Well, hey, not as many air miles as Nashville, but at least it's only one time zone, right?
Yes, so, there you go.
Yeah, well, wish me luck, guys.
Many thanks to Gemma for joining us as she's now off to Edmonton, as mentioned, for games 3 and 4.
And the nice weather that we've had here is blown over there, so it just continues.
Yeah, it's been gorgeous here. I've been out playing a little bit of golf as well, which is great. Put the shorts on. That's always a good. Did the clean out of the drawers where you take your winter clothes, put them away for a little bit, bring the sun clothes out. It's always a good day.
Yep, all my sweaters are now in the Rubbermaid bin. So
there you go. Yeah,
see you at the end of September, boys.
Yeah, you always need to get that a little bit of that weird sort of smell, that storage sort of smell.
Well, see, that's why you put a little bag of lavender in there.
Oh, good tip. Well, let's see what the Canucks can bring in games 3 and 4 from Edmonton.
What magic potions do they have, man? I mean, what the hell magic potion does Leon Draisaitl have? They need to have that, you know, magic energy boost.
Hey, those cramps, you're going to watch out. Those cramps will get you after a 4-point night.
And hey, speaking of socials, we really appreciate everybody tagging us, commenting us. Love everybody on the YouTubes for the last alternative highlights packages and stuff. Love the conversations going in there. So thanks for the support, everybody.
And for those of you that are looking for the alternative highlights, we're pretty much exclusively just putting them on YouTube now. Had a bit of issues. Kenny and Vic, they're not liked by some of the other social media platforms.
But also there's been so much going on that every platform has a different length as a maximum upload, and we can't get the whole package on some platforms. That's a whole
different argument right there. But let's put a bow on this one. Let's see what the Canucks bring us in games 3 and 4 from the Chuck. We'll be back after that. Thanks again to Gemma Karstens-Smith for joining us. For producer Aaron, I'm Andrew Wadden. Thanks for listening, everyone.